Now that you got part of your document completed, or it could be your entire document, in fact, it's probably a good idea to be able to save your document before you get too far into it so you can save it along the way in case if something happens, you don't lose all your work. And you'll notice up here in the title bar, you got the generic title because we haven't saved our document yet. Before I show you how to save it, which is very simple, you have what's known as Save and Save As. When you save your document for the first time, and this is going to be your first time saving it, it will force what's called a Save As. And Save As will force you to name the file and select a location on your computer to save it. So when you do a save, if it's the first time, it's going to say, okay, what's my name? Because the generic name, I don't think you want that. And where do you want to put it? It's kind of like a codependent file. It's like, hey, who am I and where do I go? What place do I have in society and what name are you going to give me? So once you save it first, if this is the first time you're saving it, it's going to say, no, you're going to have to do a Save As. You're going to have to give me a name and a location. Then once you have a name and a location tied to your document and you click the Save button, it's not going to ask you that again because it knows who it is, or the name of the document, and also where it's supposed to be. So let's go ahead and come up here on the Quick Access toolbar. You can click Save there, or you can do the shortcut key Control S, or you can click on the File tab, go Backstage, and go down to Save. It's your flavor. Let's go ahead and hit the Backspace key and click on Save, and oh, hey, there it is, the Save As window. Let me click and drag this down to the center so we can see it. So it's going to ask us two questions. First of all, what's going to be the name of the document? And then second of all, where do you want to save it? Well, I want to save it on my desktop, and right there in the address bar it says I'm on the desktop. Let's save it in the Exercises folder on my desktop. So to get inside of that, just double click on it to open it up, and then down below, give it a name. So the name I want to give it, now notice that the default file name is Dreamforce LLC. Let me click and drag this over. What's the first text that's being displayed within the document? It's Dreamforce LLC, right? So the default name is going to be whatever the title within the document is. Now this may not be my title, it just may be, hey, this is our company, but that's what Word is assuming, that it's going to try to save you some work here and say, okay, I'm just going to enter in automatically the first couple of words within your document here. And if that's not right, then go ahead and delete it. And of course it's about Dreamforce, but let's just delete it and call it something else, like DF About Us, and that's it. Go ahead and click Save, and it's saved. And you can see up here in the title bar that you don't have the generic name, it's DF About Us. So if you're done with the document and you close out, and you're like, I'd like to access that document again, remember we saved it in our Exercises folder on the desktop. That's one way to access it. Let's go ahead and double click on the folder to open it up. And it's there, DF About Us. That's nice. Go ahead and double click. It opens it up. Of course, the other way you can open it up is that if we close out of it and we open up the word program, well, let's close out of the Exercises folder, double click, and you want to pull it up here, not the blank document that you get by default when you open up Word. Then you can open up the document one of, well, a couple of ways. You can either come up here and click on the File tab to go Backstage and see if it's a recent document here, and hey, there it is. It's in your Exercises folder on the desktop. You can go ahead and click on it and automatically will open it up. In fact, when you hover over it, you get this little push pin. You can push that item in, and what that means, and you can see the line that separates this one from all the rest because, hey, this one's now special. Instead of being one document that is recent, that if you don't use it and you open up many other documents, it's going to drop off and it won't be a recent document. But if this one is going to be special, it doesn't matter if you don't open it for 10 years, you always want it displayed under recent, then push the pin in and it will always be there. So if I click on it again to bring it out, then that means, hey, if it's a recent document, most recent one is going to be at the top of the list. So you can click on that to open it up. Okay, that works. Or let's go ahead and close out and open up Word again. You can come up here and click on the Open folder. If you added it to your Quick Access toolbar, you can use the shortcut keys Control Open, or you can go Backstage File down to Open, and you can see that you can find it Recent Documents, or if it's not a recent document, then you can click on Computer to browse. Once you select Computer, is it a folder? Well, I can go to my Exercises folder, go ahead and click on that, and it opens up the folder, so I can go, oh, there it is. Click Cancel, or if it's not a recent folder, and by the way, you've got your push pin to push it up and it separates that from all the rest, it's now special, so it doesn't get knocked off if it's not a recent folder or a folder that you've recently opened up. It'll always be there. Let me go ahead and unpin it. Last but not least, if it's not in your recent folders, click on Browse, and then it opens up the Open window, which takes too many clicks. Let me click Cancel. go back. That's why I have the open folder here. One click and I'm in the open window. And then you can go to your desktop. Again, here's your navigation pane over to the left-hand side. You can scroll up, find the desktop. Over on the right-hand side, it shows you everything on your desktop. And there's my exercises folder. And when I say double-click on it, if you're not fast enough and you try to double-click, it's not going to open up the folder because it thinks that you're trying to rename the name of the folder. So I always tell my students, just go ahead and double-click on the folder, the icon itself, because it won't think that you're trying to rename it. That is, if you're very slow. Or select it, click open, and opens up the folder. You can go ahead and select that and click open. For me, it's just easier to double-click because right now, I'm pretty fast with my finger there, double-click. Now, if I make any changes to it and I click save, it's not going to perform a save as because it's no longer codependent. It now knows who it is. Hey, I'm the DF About Us document. I feel special, and this is the place I'm at, which is in the exercises folder. So if I come in here and I'm like, oh yeah, it's Dreamforce, LLC to be technically correct here, then when I click on the save button, it saves the document and it doesn't say, okay, what name is it and where am I supposed to be saved? Because we already established that with the first time that we saved it. By default, when you save a document for the first time, it's save as. So again, if I close out of here, I can right-click on one of the Word documents that I already have opened, and I get my jump list, which is available in Windows 7 and Windows 8. And you can see the recent ones that I have here. There's About Us. Click on that. And there it is, the comma. It's been saved. So just make sure that when you start working in your document, do the initial save when you have nothing in it. Just go ahead and save it, give it a name, start typing. After you type in something that you don't want to retype again in case if it's lost, click on the save button or Control S and just be OCD about it so you don't lose anything. Sure, it has auto recovery, as we went over in an earlier training video. That is, you can have it set it to save every 1, 2, 3, 4, or by minutes. In any case, it's just easier here if I don't have to auto recover it when I know that I'm saving it myself every time that there's a milestone that I want to be able to save it right then and there without having to worry about if I lost a minute of work or less. And then finally, if you want to use the save as to be able to copy a document, because it's not just used for the first time of saving a document where it forces you to give it a name and a place to put it. You can also create copies of documents. So here's my original document. If I want to be able to change it and keep my original without changing it, then to make a copy, just come up here on the File tab, go backstage to Save As, and down here to Save As, and then come down here and click on Browse unless you have a folder that you want to save it into. But when you click on Browse, it opens up the Save As window. In the navigation pane, find your desktop, and if there's a folder over there in the main window, go ahead and double click on it, and then go ahead and give it a name. I mean, that's a lot of clicks, at least for me. Let me click Cancel. If I go back, I added the Save As command to my Quick Access toolbar, and you can see in the shortcut F12. So if you hit the command here or F12, it brings up the Save As window, and I don't have to go backstage, click Browse, and go through all those clicks that are just too many for me. In any case, the Save As is going to ask us two questions again. This time, we're going to rename the document here and call it Dreamforce About Us Copy. As long as we rename it as something different than the original, it won't overwrite the original. Because if I keep it as the original, let me go ahead and select it, because when I select it, it actually duplicates it down below, and I click Save, it's going to overwrite it. Don't want to do that, want a copy of it. So come back up here, click on the Save As button. We'll save it in the exercises folder, so I won't have to find a place to save this copy unless I want to change it and go to someplace on the network. Let's just change the name here and say it's our copy, and click Save, and that's it. Now I have two copies. I have the original Dreamforce About Us, and you can see up in the title bar now, it's updated to the most recent save, which is the copy of About Us. So I'm in the copy of this document here, of the original DF About Us. So any changes that I make, like if I come down here and type in something more, for example, and click Save, it saves it to the copy. If I want to go back to the original, I have to close out of here. So keep that in mind. When you do a Save As, you're no longer in the original. You're in the copy of that document after you save it. So if I close out of here, let's go back to our exercises folder on the desktop. And there's the original, and there's the copy. Double click to open up the original. Again, the original wasn't opened when I did the Save As. It saved it as the copy here, which accepted my changes. Type in something more. And then, of course, if I no longer want this document, let me close out. I can right-click on it and go down to Delete and say yes, and it sends it right over to the trash can.